But one of the things we wanted to try to do this year is to find some way to honor those who are about helping our fellowship expand and being part of encouraging and honoring those people, but to also encourage and motivate and inspire us to want to be those people who are on the front edge of seeing that take place. And so we decided to come up with an award that we could grant every year to somebody that would be part of that vision. And we wanted to name it in someone that would help us to be inspired, someone who has a past history of our fellowship expanding and could be a person that we could really look to. And so we thought we would come up with what's called the Ed Jackson Award. Now, some of you do not know who Ed Jackson is. How many of you know who Ed Jackson is? You have a memory of Ed? Okay, cool. How many of you have no idea when I say the word Ed Jackson who I'm talking about? Okay, well, that's actually not too bad. So anyone that's really under 25 years old pretty much has no idea who Ed Jackson is. Ed Jackson is an amazing person. We're kind of running out of real estate this morning because I'm not going to do him justice in any way in the conversation today, but he was a Marine in World War II, served in the South Pacific. That by itself should be enough, but that was only a very, very beginning of his life. He was a lieutenant in the Ohio State Patrol, just an incredible guy, a man's man, and he left that to start in ministry. He started the Grace Brethren Boys Ministry for our fellowship. He was very involved in Grace Brethren Men, but he was also very, very involved in starting new churches both in Florida and Ohio and Alaska. He served on, the world's deadliest catch. He was one of those dudes at 55 years old out on one of those boats in the middle of Alaska. Crazy. He was a man's man. And we want to honor Ed in his history and his memory by perpetually talking about his life and the way that he operated and he served. Ed was a man of character. He was a man of energy. He was a man of faith. He was a man of prayer. And he believed that when God called him to do something, he was going to do it. When I was talking to Rick Newsom the other day about Ed, he said, Ed was the kind of guy that was like Caleb in the Old Testament. And I want to read for you the verses that are connected to this award that we're going to present. In Joshua chapter 14 and verse 10, they're taking back the land. And now, behold, this is Caleb talking. He says, behold, the Lord has kept me alive, as he has said, these 45 years, ever since the Lord spoke his word to Moses while Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now here I am this day, 85 years old. As yet I am as strong this day as the day Moses sent me. Just as my strength was then, so now is my strength for war, both for going out and for coming in. Verse 12. Now therefore give me this mountain, of which the Lord spoke in that day. For you heard in that day how Anakim were there, that the cities were great and fortified. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I shall be able to drive them out, as the Lord said. A man of faith. Give me this mountain. And we want to give this award to someone who says and acts in the same way. Give me this mountain for expanding God's kingdom into new communities for our fellowship and for the gospel. And this year, the award goes to Mark Artrip. So Mark, come on up here. I think we should stand up. Mark Artrip has planted a church, he's daughtered a church, and he's granddaughtered a church, and he's granddaughtering another one this year, and this is incredible. When I started Assist Church Expansion 7 years ago, the first person I called was Mark Artrip, because my heart was wanting to see churches planted, and I knew if I was going to connect with the connection of the fellowship with someone who was passionate about wanting to see churches started in our family, it was Mark Artrip. And Mark, you've been instrumental in helping us get the ball rolling, getting Assist off the ground. I know you're a little busy with your church and what you're doing, but we just want to say thank you so much for your encouragement, your example. And this is not a one-time award. We're going to give this over and over, and you may be able to win it again, and I think you might as we go on with this. But the award wasn't actually, it hasn't been produced because it was so quick in terms of us putting this together. But we just want to say thank you and congratulations, Mark. You want to say it?
I was just gonna say, when I started at Grace Pal, I was an intern, and Pastor Ed was the missions pastor. So it's just humbling to be mentioned with his name. I remember he had to retire for me to get an office. So we had this running joke. He said, "Don't worry, I'll be out of here in a couple years, and you can have this office." But we would talk all the time because I grew up at Rittman Grace Brethren. He's from Rittman, so it's just humbling to be mentioned with his name. So I appreciate that.
Amen.